Welcome, welcome. Another edition of Aviation Consumer Live, part of the Fire Crowns Oshkosh Live here at AirVenture 2024. We're here in the Piper exhibit with John Sisk at Audio Authority, who's going to show off the latest and greatest smart ground power unit. And we'll talk about this Piper M700 behind us in a little bit. Dan Lewis at Piper is going to give us a little tour of the M700. John, anybody can kill a battery faster than I can. Avionics guy for a lot of years, and I've flattened my share of batteries. And that means it's pretty important for good, solid external power, particularly with these newer airplanes, whether it's a retrofit avionics suite or G3000 like the OEM suite in this Piper M700. Pretty important to have external power, and that's exactly what you brought here to the Piper booth. Your White Lightning GPUs are powering all the airplanes in this Piper exhibit, keep these avionics going throughout the show. And let's take it from the beginning and how you started in the ground power unit business. You know, ground power units have evolved over the years. I remember as an avionics guy pulling around a big, heavy Bumblebee power cart, you know, big 500-600 pound thing that was really designed to be pulled around on a tug. But we've come a long way with these little GPUs, and they've become smarter than ever. Take it from the beginning, from when you started in the ground power unit business and how we got to where we're at today.
Okay. Well, for us, the getting into ground power was almost an accident. I was in the 2000s in the STC development business, and Audio Authority was making power supplies that were used for consumer electronics, and our technician said, "Hey, can you give us something to run these airplanes while we're in the hangar?" And so we did that, and they worked so well. They said, "Well, geez, you know, there's probably a market for this." So in the about 20 years ago, we started manufacturing GPUs, and it's really not a lot different from other electronic technology. You know, over time they've become smaller, lighter, less expensive, and the technology's just moved in that direction. Nowadays everything's based on switching mode power modules, and they're very stable. The voltage doesn't vary, tightly regulated, so very safe and optimal for connecting to aircraft electronics, because like in the case of this airplane and others, you could have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the cost of the avionics. So you do want to be careful what you hook up to them. But as the electronics have become more sophisticated, also the need for being able to do better pre-flights and getting cockpit familiarization and training and all those things, and typical airplane, for doing that kind of stuff, maybe drawing 20 amps of power doesn't take long to, as you say, flatten a battery out. And in the case of turboprops and jets, you want to preserve that battery power for starting. So the GPU, it really becomes a necessary element for that. The latest thing with what we're calling the SmartGPU is simply it's just carrying that evolution a little further, so that now the GPU is connected with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and you're no longer tethered to the GPU. In the past, you've had to have line of sight to the GPU to know how much current you're drawing and that sort of thing. And with the smart GPU, all that's showing up on your phone. So in this case, the phone is mirroring exactly what's going on the GPU. So we know how much current it's drawing and the voltage. We can even see the AC input voltage. So you can see that 120 volt line is actually getting 112 volts at the unit. So it gives you an idea of any losses in your connection to the AC.
Let's see if we could get a camera shot on this on this app, so you can see what it looks like. Talk us through what we're seeing here on this app.
Well, it's actually just mirroring exactly what you would see on the high resolution display on the GPU itself. So it tells us that the GPU ID that we're connected by Bluetooth, the ambient temperature. Of course, you've got the voltage and amperage. Down here, it's monitoring the input voltage, and right now our operating status is normal. We can even pause the GPU if we need to do that. I'm not going to do that right now because people are looking at this airplane, and we don't want to interrupt that. But the elapsed time that we've been connected, so it's just it's pretty much a full reporting on what's going on. It's the same. If you want to look at the front of the GPU, the two things. If you can come around kind of on this angle, you can see the display on the GPU, and it's mirroring that. But the advantage of this is that you can take your phone with you into the cockpit or around the airplane. You're no longer tethered to the GPU itself. So that's a big advantage. Now the SmartGPU also has an option for a battery maintenance charger. We're partnering with VDC that makes the battery minder, and using their technology in our implementation, it's a 10 amp charger that's suitable for larger airplanes instead of the 4 amp, and separate connection for that. So it's really a complete package. Now the SmartGPU, this one that we're showing is capable of rated for 114 amps. Its little brother looks exactly the same. It's a 54 amp model, and that's plenty for doing a lot of piston and turboprop airplanes. As you get more into CJs and business jets and things, you really need the higher output unit to exercise all the systems. It sort of depends on what you want to do. If you're wanting to get involved with even maintenance things like doing gear swings and things, those things take a lot more current. So some of our buyers are aircraft owners, some of them are maintenance shops. A lot of people have a lot of different uses for ground power. It is not for starting engines. To start an engine on a turboprop like this is probably a 800 to 1,000 amp proposition. And so this is for airframe power only.
And it's 28 volts.
Yes.
Power.
28 volts.
Yeah.
And it is trimmable. If you've got aircraft systems that want to see a little more, a little less, you can go in and that's another advantage with SmartGPU is you can trim it for the voltage that you want to see. And
why would you want to trim voltage?
Well, if you've got some airplanes have multiple batteries, and the way the electrical system is set up, one of them is at a little higher potential than another, and so you can adjust the output of the GPU to hit the correct portion of the aircraft bus.
Sure. Talk about draining batteries. So let's look at how somebody might use a typical external power input. So maybe you got a panel full of retrofit avionics or a new Piper M700. You're trying to maybe learn the new avionics, and you've got the avionics on for a fair amount of time. How fast can you kill a battery? Understanding that new avionics have generally got pretty low power draw compared to the old stuff, but you could still flatten a battery pretty quickly. So what's the rule of thumb for using external power or not?
Well, I think, a lot of people that are operating turboprops and jets, they just don't want to deprive any battery power from the start because, that's their ultimate fear is a hot start, and so it's just generally a no-no. So whether it's for pre-flight or cockpit procedures training, familiarization, you need a GPU. For piston aircraft, they're not as sensitive, and you could get by with running something for 15 minutes, and you probably wouldn't notice a difference in how a piston aircraft is going to start. So that would be, I think the general rule of thumb. I recently moved from an older Mirage with the 530 generation Garmins and some steam gauges and stuff to the electronic flight deck, and I've been flying for 40 years, but I was really surprised at the amount of time that it takes to actually become comfortable for the flight deck operations, become second nature. It's one thing to jump in it and you're like I can figure it out and all that, but to be comfortable and it'd be second nature in an IFR situation. I found myself sitting in the airplane with the book and pressing the buttons, and it just takes a while. It's good to be able to do that.
Yeah. You know, and the other thing I think about why we're keeping the master switch on for long periods of time, particularly with older airplanes, with older avionics, database updates. This M700 is pretty automated, and database updates are pretty easy. Bluetooth between an iPad and the flight deck. But some of the older GPSs, particularly in turbines, could be a lengthy process to load this navigation data in, and that's where you start to get to the point where you can kill a battery. So,
and we found that even in the experimental market, which I've recently become more familiar with, and turns out most of the experimentals don't even have an external power receptacle. So we came up with a small GPU that's suitable for those guys, and we provide it with a wiring kit so that they can install an external power receptacle on the airplane. But saw a lot of people updating their database using the little battery in the airplane, and get halfway through their update, and then they get stuck. The thing crashes, and anyway, it can be a mess.
Yeah, and you touched on something, the built-in battery minder, which is essentially a battery tender, which isn't a battery charger.
No, it
charges the battery, but it's you're not going to damage the battery. And there's a big difference between a tender, or as you call a minder, and a charger. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, it has to do with time. If you are short-term just recharging a battery, the voltage is not that critical. The longer you have a charger connected to the battery, the more critical it becomes. So when you're talking about maintenance charging, you're talking about unattended, continuous charging of a battery. And at that point, it has to be temperature compensated because the proper float voltage is very critical. You want to absolutely keep it fully charged without overcharging it. And the longer it's connected, the more critical that is. So it is a different type of charger. What we have, what we've chosen to implement here uses the technology from VDC Electronics that's generally recognized through the industry as the best. And because we can run it from our internal power supply, we can provide more power for constant current charging that's appropriate for bigger airplanes.
Sure.
Doesn't take forever if the battery's down a bit.
Yeah. I noticed I'm looking, we focused on the front end of this GPU, but I looked to the back side of it. We've got a small antenna. Is that a Bluetooth Wi-Fi antenna?
Yeah, that's for all your wireless connection. That the antenna's back there, and it can be positioned. Although it's not really very sensitive to that. But if you're in a situation where it's in the way, you can also flip it down and get it out of the way.
And how about cables coming from the GPU into the power input port on the airplane?
It's real simple. I mean, you've got your AC input cable, and then the aircraft cable is a heavy gauge cable going up to the aircraft's external power receptacle. And in this case, that cable's rated for about 130 amps. Okay. So plenty for anything that you'd want to do with this airplane.
Yeah. So we'll sum it up. What does the White Lightning line of GPUs look like in addition to this SmartGPU? This isn't the only one. There are others.
Well, there's two smart GPUs that we'll be introducing in the fall. This is a prototype, and they go into production in September. The other White Lightning products, like I said, they start with very inexpensive and small units for the experimental market. They go into larger units. We even have a dual voltage unit. A lot of guys have multiple airplanes. They've got a 28-volt airplane like this, and then maybe they've got an experimental or an older airplane that's a 12-volt system. And so we make a dual voltage there where one box can do either type of airplane. So it's really a whole family of products under the White Lightning brand. Audio Authority is the parent company, and we've been in business since '76. But when you talk about aircraft electronics and people say Audio Authority, it didn't make sense. So we decided to go with the White Lightning brand of these white boxes that produce electricity.
Yeah.
And so that's actually made a lot of sense, and people seem to like it a lot.
So what's the price point of this smart GPU?
That one is about $2,500. Its little brother's about $1,600. Okay. At the low end, the mini GPUs start about $600 in that neighborhood. And we've got a new website now that is dedicated to White Lightning, so it doesn't get into all the other Audio Authority products, because we serve 3 different markets, and aviation is now a separate thing. So hopefully it's not confusing to people. But White Lightning GPU,
what's that website?
WhiteLightningGPU.com. Makes sense.
Great. Well, thanks a lot to John Sisk, Audio Authority. Let's turn it over to Dan Lewis for just a short bit. Talk a little bit about this M700. Last time we saw each other was at Sun and Fun, where sort of the big debut for this airplane. How's it been since?
It's been well received. Certifications ongoing with the FAA, and we're now pretty much in a good sync. We're on serial number 15 now, so everything's rolling really well. We're working on our international certifications with the EASA, TCCA, ANAC in Brazil, so it's all flowing. We're getting there, and we're on par for all of our deliveries this year.
Yeah. You and I were talking a little bit before we came on camera about the auto land capability and some of the other safety enhancing systems in the M700. Been pretty easy to sell these airplanes with all that safety stuff.
Yeah, I mean, most of our customers are really in tune with the safety factor and all that kind of feature. So with the Halo package that we started on the M600, and now we have it obviously on the M700 carried over, it's just a great selling tool, and it's free. In essence, it's part of the base price of the aircraft, so it's not an option. It's definitely on our product. Yeah.
We won't get too heavily into it, but what's your take on external power when it comes to keeping a battery switch on this airplane for an extended amount of time?
Well, we don't turn on the battery switch with this. You just run it off the GPU. We bypass the battery for that reason. We also have a battery minder connector up on the front, where you can actually charge the battery remotely with these kind of devices as well. So that's new. The new 85-hour amp battery is great. And the new starter generator is 175 amp starter generator, which just makes for faster and cooler starts on this aircraft. So it's just incredible, the increased power and capabilities of that. And with the GPU for the training of the new software releases from Garmin, you're in doing database downloads, you're just trying to understand all the screens with the G3000, and it's got a lot of new stuff with the 3D taxi and the cabin briefer, cast messages, and so forth. This new software that's just come out on the 700 and now on our 350 as well is just amazing technology for safety, awareness, and just ease of use. So flying, it's a breeze.
Yeah. So for somebody stepping into the M700, maybe from a legacy Malibu, maybe, how important do you think it is to spend time up front with these avionics, with an external power connection? Pretty important to get familiar with this stuff on the ground?
Yeah, definitely, because you go through our training programs that come with the purchase of the aircraft, and that's a 5-day, 6-day course, ground school, simulator time. And then now you're in the airplane and you get up there, and maybe along cross country you got time to play and learn all the stuff, but it would be nice if you can just sit, nice calm hangar or on the ramp, running the battery with your GPU. Now you've got all the time in the world to just sit there and really learn the systems and get comfortable with it. Yeah, we also have a remote capability of uploading databases. It is a subscription service called PlaneSync that comes from Garmin. It's super fantastic, but for those of you that like to do it the old-fashioned way with the card loads and either direct, it's also capable with a GPU to be able to take that time and not drain your battery.
Yeah. You might have said it, but I might have missed it. Deliveries of this M700?
Delivery?
Yeah.
We're on the deliveries for all of our sold out units for this year, and we'll start deliveries again in January with 2025.
Yep. Anything else you want viewers to know here at Sun and busy as it was at Sun and Fun? It's pretty much the same thing here at AirVenture. Lots of interest in this airplane. It surely stands out in the display, but M700 isn't the only airplane. You got some others in the background here.
We've got the M350, our Archer LX, which is the luxury version of our trainer aircraft, the PA-28. And then we've got a couple of our flight school customers here with their trainers, as well as the Piper Pilot. So we have all of our birds here except for the M500, which are always sold out. So we never seem to get one for a show.
Yeah. How do you get a demo in this airplane if somebody's interested? Maybe you're stepping up from something else or new the first time turboprop. How can you fly it?
Yeah, so just go to piper.com and there's an option on the page to request a demo. We have several dealerships in the U.S. that are capable with their own demonstrator M700s, or come to the factory and I'll fly you around.
Yeah. Pretty good looking paint scheme on this airplane too. That's one thing that always struck me. Fit and finish looks good, and people seem to like this paint scheme. I see the same paint scheme or similar one over on that Archer.
Yeah, and on the 350. So we did a family of paint schemes for this aircraft for the launch of the 700, and it's called our Fury paint scheme for the name of the new aircraft. Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot to Dan Lewis here at Piper. We always appreciate the time you spend with us. And again, thanks to John Sisk. And thanks to our sponsor for this live segment. It's Lightspeed Aviation, maker of the Lightspeed headset. We appreciate the sponsorships. We keep this live program going throughout the week here. Thanks for watching another edition of Aviation Consumer Live, part of the Fire Crown Oshkosh Live series at AirVenture 2024. Larry Anglisano, thanks for watching.